Hello, welcome to Blogging for Programmers. This is episode 12. Today I want to talk about variety. And variety, you're like, what do I mean by variety? Well, that's the problem. This is a clickbait title. It's not as big a clickbait title as normal. Here on my screen back on my board back here, you can see why your server crashes may be the act of a new hacker trend. Now, we all know you see titles like that, and there's two things may occur. Two things, maybe three. One, it may be about a new hacker trend. Two, that word may not even show up. And it may be like, maybe someone says, well, sometimes it's something hacking, but here's some other things. And here's what a server is. And we call this clickbait. Clickbait titles are fun. I actually love to hate, mind you, but I love to play this game. And I go to one of any number of theme park blogs out there that do this. And there'll be a title that says ride shut down, park evacuated. And this could mean anything from a ride caught on fire, they evacuated the entire theme park and it's going to be closed for a week. Or it could mean that a ride had issues 10 minutes before park close. Or there's a new hamburger. And I wish I was making that up. My title today is about variety. And if you had to guess, you probably thought I was going to talk about a variety of topics. Now, that's a good idea too, but if you're not being paid to do this, write about what you want. Write about what makes you feel good, right? Make sure that you know, but you love it, right? You don't want to sit there and have to sit down at your writing desk with your pen, because everybody uses a pen, right? I was signing something, so it's the only reason I've been on my desk. But you sit down at your writing desk, you're writing something, you're like, click, 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 click. And you're like, I would like to write something that I hate, that I don't want to do. No, so I always say, write about what you're feeling about, write what you like to talk about. That's great. It's just like presentations. If you're presenting on something just to see who will see it, it's nowhere near as much fun as when you're writing or presenting on something that you care about. So the variety I want to talk about is when you're using terminology. This is very typical in the SQL community. On LinkedIn recently and people's blogs, you go to a blog and you sit down at that blog and it goes, SQL can do this. And you're like, I'm an expert at SQL. I know 99% of the things. I do learn things occasionally. I was complaining about something on this internet the other day and I learned a new command that made my life easier. But sometimes, it's just because someone's using terminology that isn't part of your vernacular, isn't part of the system that you're using. For example, something called a natural join. You don't have a natural join in SQL Server. You have to actually enter the IDs and the foreign keys and make sure that works. The way CTEs work, some of them, you can have it materialize it and save off the values. It all depends on what you're doing. OSs are another great example. Mac OS, iOS, phone iOS, Linux, Windows, all of these do similar things, right? They give you an interface into the hardware so that people writing programs don't have to go down and do machine code anymore. We trust them. In fact, code nowadays is so tight, it doesn't even trust that you're allowing it to get down to that level anymore. But what we want to do here is we want to make sure we're talking about the OS we're talking about, unless you're talking about all OSs, okay? Because all OSs do certain things, but then certain OSs do things in a different way, in a more detailed way. So as you're writing, make sure you're explaining, you're indicating who your topic is, who it's for. Is it for generalists? Is it for specialists? Brent Ozar, I'll try to put this in the show notes. But Brent Ozar had a thing where he's talking about how your title, your writing, your speaking, you're trying to tell who this is not for, as much as you're telling who it is for. So if I'm talking about SQL, I need to make sure that I'm whittling out all the people whose ears just perked up. Oh, I'm into SQL. Postgres. Oh, I'm not Postgres. No, I'm not Oracle. I'm SQL Server. And then maybe there's, this works for everybody. And then when you dig down in, you go, well, and this works this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. Okay, 3, 2, 1. this way on Postgres, this way on Oracle, this way on SQL Server. And so they're different. So our title is clickbait. So I love the idea of clickbait. I like the title. It's trying to pull you in, but we want to pull in the right people. And people write clickbait like this, right? Strictly to say, I want to get anybody on earth to read this because they see hackers. We need to look at it. We need to read it, but you don't want people to stay. You don't want people to just come looking at your page and then get mad at you. Because if that's the first time they see you, the next time they're going to think, this person's not doing what they're doing. They don't know what I'm not going to get anything out of what they're doing because of how hard it is to get details from it. So think about that. Think about how when you're starting to write titles, when you're starting to advertise yourself and market yourself, it's another topic later. Be into that mindset of what are we trying to market and how do we do it the right way so we're not just tricking people? And once we get in, not only we're not tricking them, we're not frustrating them because they just found out that SQL doesn't have this new command. Like I used to regex, I would have done that in the past. If you write an article, the people are writing articles about SQL and regex, and you're like, well, it has it. No, it doesn't. Certain implementations have. All right, that's the topic for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. And come back for the next tip. See you.